Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about deep water, forward-facing sonar, and we're going to really break it down, from the beginning to the end on how to find them, how to catch them, and just what exactly you're looking for. So, and it's very, very different depending on what part of the country you're in, but you get on lakes like this one, you got lots of clear water, deep highland type reservoirs. I like to start, in some of the major creeks, and I'll get in the major creeks or big pockets that have deep water running back into them. And, I like to check the channel swings. I like to look for things like standing timber or even boat docks. If you have a boat dock that's, hanging over the channel and it's got good deep water underneath it, that's a great place to start looking. You're gonna put your forward facing down and look and see if you're around the fish. That's the first step to this whole puzzle is you've got to keep looking until you find the fish. You can't just pull up on a bank and start fishing because you're going to waste a lot of time. You're not going to be as effective as you could be. So, I'm going to spend, the vast majority of my time doing a lot of looking until I get in an area that I feel like is alive. You find the bait fish, number one. Number two, you find the big bass that are chasing them, Whether you've got to go all the way to the back of the creek in 20 feet or you're at the mouth of a creek like we're at right now and they're suspended over 100 feet of water. It just depends on the time of year, but you've just got to, step one, find the bass. So, after you've spent your time looking around and you're in an area where you're seeing fish, eat bait fish, you're somewhere where you're just seeing a lot of life, that's when it's time to figure out what you're going to throw at them, figure out how to catch them. So a lot of times I throw a spunk shad, and I like to throw the 3-inch version, and you can throw the big one. That's an option too, but it seems like if I'm just wanting to get bites, I throw that smaller one first, and that's my bite getter. What I do though is I really adjust my jig head weight. I feel like that is a very, very key factor in catching those fish offshore. Sometimes I'm going to use a 1/4 ounce, sometimes I'm going to use a 1 ounce. It all depends on how far those fish are down and how fast they're swimming, because if you don't get the fish to see your bait, you're not going to catch them. So you've got to make sure you've got the right setup when it comes to that. So don't be afraid to put on a big heavy jig head and go after them. But there's also times, especially in the springtime, whenever the fish will suspend very, very high in the water column. I mean, you just feel like you should be able to see them. They'll get right on the surface, and whenever that's happening, that's when I like to break out the hover missile. The hover missile is it's a head-by missile that's actually a hover rig, and the head is inside the spunk shad. You can't even see it, so it's a very, very natural presentation, and that's what I like to throw to them whenever they're really shallow. They make it in really light sizes, all the way from a 32nd, up to a 1/4 and a 3/8. So you kind of have whatever you want, but I like that 32nd, that 16th, and that 8th the best. Those are the ones I'm picking to go ahead and pick off those really high floaters. So I think if you do what I said there and get around the fish and then you go at them with the jig head minnow and the hover rig, you're going to be more effective at catching offshore bass with your forward facing sonar.